Phase 4 is all wrapped up now. We can put a nice little bow on it, filled with a whole bunch of good, a whole bunch of bad, a whole bunch of hell yeah, and a whole bunch of what the f. But here's the thing, we never quite reached the heights of Phase 3 with the likes of Thanos, and well, Thanos again. I don't really know where I'm going with this. I'm just trying to say that we're gonna take all of these villains and take all of these villains, just kind of smash them into each other and throw them around and see who would win in a fight. What's up guys, I'm Daniel and this is DanCo. We do fight breakdowns every week, plus the occasional power ranking video like this one or things like that. So if that seems interesting to you, we'll sit back and enjoy the video. Hit that like button. If you want to, we'll hit the subscribe button while you're at it. Now let's get to it. All right, and I want to start out with Phase 3. Travel back with me to 2016. You're in theaters, and the new MCU phase is starting out with Captain America: Civil War. And the two only real villains in the movie are Crossbones and Baron Zemo. Not that impressive of a showing, basically just two normal humans. Just one of them has those arms from Rock'em Sock'em robots, and the other just happens to be an exceptionally good dancer. But in Doctor Strange, well, it begins to ramp up a little bit. We got Caecilius, who's not that great of a villain, but has magic. And magic comes in handy. And then there's Dormammu, an interdimensional, primordial being who existed before even time itself and can straight up destroy worlds and absorb dimensions. Then Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Ego, Sovereign, and Taserface.
You know what would be a really kick-ass name? Taserface!
Okay, so maybe not Taserface, but Ego and the Sovereign. And the Sovereign might just be some gold people with some very weird views on how to make babies, but they got a lot of numbers and a lot of tech and a lot of ships. And then Ego, a celestial and a primordial being, a literal planet who can do basically anything that he wants. Here we've got Batman showing up in the MCU playing Vulture. We've got Shocker. And then we've got the new Shocker. Cool tech, solid motive, great villain, but this is basically just like your 60-year-old neighbor flying around in a super suit. Or how old is Michael Keaton? God, he's 70? Okay, your 70-year-old granddad flying around calling himself the Vulture. And then Shocker got beat by Ned. Hella, a classic Disney baddie that you have to expect to bust out into a musical number at any moment. And she's a nice metaphor for imperialistic sins coming back to haunt you. Plus, she's eternal. She's just as strong, just as powerful as Asgard itself, and the only way to beat her is to beat all of Asgard. Then there's Fenris, her big puppy, who can turn Hulk into a chew toy, and then all her skeleton army. Then there's Surtur. I'm not really sure if that's a tiara on his head or just a giant monobrow, but either way, he wears it well, and he can wreak some havoc, completely destroyed all of Asgard. Killmonger and Claw. And I don't ever want to make fun of or undersell a disabled man, but Claw is a bad guy, so he doesn't really count. He also really can't do much. Just a guy with a cool robot arm. Maybe him and Bucky can get together sometime, listen to his mixtape, but other than that, there's not much. Then there's Killmonger. Maybe the single greatest villain in the MCU. Yeah, I said it. Problem is, in a fight, he's basically just Black Panther. That's nice, but that's still just a dude in a cool suit. This is where we get to see Thanos, the only man I've ever seen who's this obsessed with jewelry. And all of his henchmen with the Black Order and their whole shtick, basically just a bunch of space mob enforcers. And of course, all of Thanos' space dogs. we've got Ghost, who can just walk through stuff. Great as an assassin, or whatever she is in this movie, but compared to Thanos, she's not bringing much, but we gotta include her on the team anyways. Just the Kree, an army of aliens with big giant spaceships and ballistic missiles. And I have no idea how powerful the individual Kree is, because on one hand you've got Ronan the Accuser back, and then on the other hand, you've got Jude Law, who just appears to be just a normal dude. And now we get to circle back to Thanos. Thanos to Electric Boogaloo. He's got a big swingy sword now instead of the Infinity Gauntlet, but he's still just as big, and he's still just as mean, and he's still just as purple. He's got the Black Order back, so you can just kind of reverse all of their deaths. And he's got an even bigger army now. Basically every single bad guy from all across the MCU here. Then we've got Mysterio, who's basically just the props and visual effects department for a movie. That's about it. Okay, so that's phase 3. Now, phase 4. I guess you could kind of argue the true villain in WandaVision is Scarlet Witch. Because, I mean, she did essentially hold an entire town of people at magical gunpoint and psychologically torture them for a few months, but then she lets them all go. So I guess we're all just supposed to pretend she was the good guy the whole time.
They'll never know what you sacrificed for them.
Boo! Instead, the scapegoat villain is Agatha Harkness, everyone's favorite evil witch with the catchiest theme song you've ever heard. Here we've got the Flag Smashers and a little girl known by Carly Morgenthau. They're all basically just super soldiers, and some of the most confusing villains I've ever seen. Because they're supposed to be sympathetic. They're thrown out of their homes, and that really sucks. But they're also doing evil stuff and killing people and blowing up buildings. That's not cool.
The terrorists only set us back a bit.
You have to stop calling them terrorists.
But then the show completely removes any nuance to it or any layers, which, blah. You would think Loki would be the bad guy here. It turns out it's really just bureaucratic incompetence and a terrifying clock mascot. The TVA can treat Infinity Stones like, well, just rocks. Yeah, they're that powerful. Oh, and there's a giant cloud monster who can literally eat anything, and a man with undiagnosed schizophrenia. So here we've got Marvel's version of Harvey Weinstein, and then this version of Taskmaster, where I'll channel my best inner YouTube troll, men's rights activist here.
Male and proud! Male and proud! Male
and say that it should have been like the comics. That would have been a little bit better. Okay, wow, we're including What If? Okay, rapid fire mode here. We've got Red Skull and some Nazis, the Collector if he was really buff, a dad who lost his mind, a doctor who lost his mind, zombies all over the place, Killmonger, he's back, then an Ultron who's never ever gonna hold back. Wen-Wu, this guy might win Worst Dad of the Year award. And he's the only villain who's this into rings. Then Dweller in the Darkness is the secret surprise villain in the movie. It's basically just a giant Dementor flying around. The Eternals actually has a surprising amount of villains, because you got the Deviants, this weird human deviant that I honestly forgot what its point is. Icarus, just another one of the many evil Supermen out there. Then Ereshkigal, another Celestial, could destroy the Earth in a second if he wanted to. Y'all remember Hawkeye had a TV show? 'Cause I sure didn't. And the villain is Kingpin, who's truly incredible, an amazing villain, and is just a human. And then all the tracksuit baddies, they're not gonna do anything either. Yeah, we finally got the Sinister Six, except minus Venom, or Mysterio, or Vulture, or Venom, or any sixth villain. The Fury's Five: Dr. Octopus, Sandman, Electro, Lizard, and Green Goblin. I'm pretty sure the real villain in this show is Mark's mom. God, that woman is awful. But the other villain is Arthur Harrow, and the giant crocodile woman goddess who comes along with him. Scarlet Witch is now a villain. Should have been a villain back in WandaVision, but she's definitely a villain now. Can dreamwalk and beat up on Doctor Strange, and is like a universal threat. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I've never watched Ms. Marvel. There's just so much going on in the MCU now. Things start to pile up and slip through the cracks. And I know I could go back and watch on Disney Plus, but there's just so much out there that I need to watch and so many shows that I want to catch up on. Ms. Marvel just isn't gonna be it. That being said, I'm pretty sure her villains are like time traveling or dimension traveling Jinn or something like that. Whatever. So now we finally get to see Gore, the God Butcher. And what a disappointment. He killed one god. He kidnapped a bunch of kids, then lost to Thor's, whatever the plural for Thor is. Either way, not that compelling of a villain, but a heavy hitter. Boo! Didn't like this show. Titania sucks, but she's pretty strong. Move on to the next one. Maybe the best villain in Phase 4. I mean, you got Green Goblin and Kingpin and all that, but Namor is definitely up there. Super strong, super interesting, and just loves walking around with his shirt off. Okay. That was a whole lot of villains out there. Now, how do they stack up against each other? Well, some of them are just villains of the same hero, so we can pretty easily compare those. Like Doctor Strange villains. We've got Caecilius versus Scarlet Witch. Maybe you throw in Agatha Harkness there because she's a witch too, and Caecilius is gonna get destroyed. Captain America villains, Baron Zemo and Crossbones versus the Flag Smashers. Well, the Flag Smashers are actually super soldiers with actual superpowers. Zemo is just like a really smart planner, and Crossbones is just a burn victim. I think you know where that's going. Thor villains, Hela versus Gore. Now that's actually a good one. That's actually a really interesting one. That one's close. But Black Panther villains, well, as much as we all love Killmonger, unless he fights Namor in the desert, Namor is gonna win that fight. And then Spider-Man villains, we've got an old man in a flying suit and a dude walking around in the fancy pajamas and a fishbowl on his head versus a crack addict on super steroids, living lightning, living sand, and a freaking dinosaur. Not close. But that's just one way to look at it, because you can also compare all the villains based on the power level that they're all at. Like, take this group of villains. We'll call them all the street level villains. Like, Crossbones here could kill the General Dreykov. Zemo could kill Dreykov. Basically, everyone here could kill Dreykov. But then Taskmaster could beat Crossbones, and she could beat Zemo, and she could beat Vulture. But Vulture could also beat her. then Vulture could take down a Flag Smasher, but the Flag Smasher could also beat up on him. Then Wenwu comes in and starts spinning his rings all around, but then Killmonger steps up and takes him on. Then Ghost is sneaking around and suddenly she just killed Kingpin. Then Titania is smashing up everything and complaining about her brand, but Shocker hits her. Then Arthur Harrow's just wandering around with his little walking stick and sucks out Claw's soul. But wait, that's not the real Claw, because Mysterio is using illusions. Little drones are flying all around the place, but then Green Goblin swoops in with his little pumpkin bombs. Then Taserface gets on the action.
Taserface!
And it's just pure and total chaos. And that's just some of the villains, because then you got Namor flying around with his little ankle wings. He can smack anyone else out of the sky. But then Cole Obsidian throws his big old hammer at him, knocks him out of the sky. Then the Cole Obsidian from Endgame comes into, and they start curb stomping him on the ground. But then Icarus comes around and starts flying around with his laser eyes all over the place. Then the Freaky Deviant with his Squidward face gets out there too, and he starts doing his thing. But then there's Caecilius, and he's got no problem chopping off heads. Then there's Gore lurking around being a weirdo in the shadows, and Hela coming out and slaying with her looks and with her swords. But wait, here comes Agatha, or really, here comes Scarlet Witch. Everyone better look out, she'll go for heads too. But wait, there's still Thanos out there lurking around. I'm sure he'll want a rematch with her. That might not go too well for him. Wanda is a whole lot stronger, but he's got a whole ass army behind him. Oh shit, I forgot about the armies. How could I forget about the armies? We got skeletons, and they're all magical, and I guess they're led by a giant dog. We got Goldmen, and they hate to lose, but they kind of lose really easily. Then we got all sorts of aliens, and some different types of aliens, and some big gorilla aliens, and some big giant flying Leviathan aliens. They're all flying around and blowing everything up. And oh yeah, there are Marvel zombies out there now. We gotta look out for that. Oh my god, is that a giant crocodile lady? Just grew up out of the ground? Is that a planet with a face on it? And who is that guy? And Okay, I kind of lost it there for a second, but let's just recompose ourselves here. I think we're going about this the wrong way. Instead of starting from the bottom, we gotta throw all this out and start from the top. Rethink this whole thing. Because there's no way that Killmonger is gonna be a match for Aeroshin. There's no way that Agatha can defeat Dormammu. I don't know who can mess around with Thanos and Ultron. We really should have been focused on all these guys from the very beginning. Now, Ego and Aeroshin are both Celestials. They're literally gods and members of the same alien godhood. So they basically cancel each other out. I guess I'll give this slight edge to Aeroshin though, because I think he's like the chief Celestial, while it looks like Ego kind of went rogue. Started hooking up with a bunch of chicks for a few millennia. Now, Dormammu is a really scary guy here. You can even make an argument that he's more powerful than Celestials, because I mean, the dude is straight up the ruler of his own dimension. He could swallow the earth whole and take all the villains with it. But you know what his weakness is? Time. You know what Phase 4 has? The TVA, the Time Variance Authority. I don't know how they would do it, because I don't know how any of this works, but I bet that freaky little clock could put Dormammu in some kind of time cell. That's just a guess. Dormammu could probably just as easily swallow the whole organization whole. Basically what I'm leading up to though is that the fight really comes down to the two dudes wearing the Infinity Gauntlet. The two guys with true omnipotence. Thanos and Ultron. And they have literally the same powers, like the exact same. They can both do anything. So that means it should come down to a draw, right? They can both do anything, well, they can just cancel each other out. Well, yeah, you would think that's how it'll work, but it turns out that Thanos is actually super lame at being a god. Like, he gets all the Infinity Stones, has all the power in the universe. This is his big moment. This is his time to shine. Immediately gets impaled with an axe and almost dies. And sure, Ultron was beaten by an arrow, but that was after he systematically destroyed the entire universe. Then had a fight that spanned across the entire multiverse and broke basically every law of physics and reality that we know. So yeah, I'd say that Ultron is way better at being a god than Thanos. And that means odds are he's gonna kill Thanos. And once that happens, well, no one is gonna stand in Ultron's way. No one else can stop him. Every villain could throw everything they have at him. It's not gonna do anything. He's already beaten most of all of them by himself already. With Ultron leading that charge, this one is pretty easy. Phase 4 just has to take it. Phase 4 wins. But what do y'all think? Sound off in the comments down below. I know you're gonna have thoughts and feelings on this one for sure. If you stuck around this long and made it to the end of the video, that's amazing. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting us. And if you want to go subscribe, well, go subscribe. You're going to see more videos like this one every single week. I'll see y'all then. I'll see y'all next time.